The governor felt it strongly, and he took the necessary step of giving me the initial core of staff, headed by Kitili, to begin the process. And we do know from our experience, having gone around a few places to see how the financial reporting centers or financial intelligence units operate, or how they started, it is going to be a long and painful process. But because we have development partners with us, and because somebody has already been there and done it, part of our learning curve will be shortened, and maybe will be fully operational, with results showing in the next like 2 to 3 years. Others have taken as long as over 10 years to achieve. My formal remarks, it is with great pleasure that I stand before you this morning to make a few remarks on this auspicious occasion of the Stakeholder Forum. This is an important forum seeking to create awareness on planned anti-money laundering initiatives in Kenya. My brief this morning is to talk to you about the working of the Kenyan Financial Reporting Center. It would be best if we all understand the relationship between the Financial Reporting Center and the Money Laundering Advisory Board, which I am privileged to be chair of. The board is established under Section 49 of the Process of Crime and the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2009. The board's mandate is to advise the director of the Financial Reporting Center generally in the performance of his functions and in the exercise of the powers under the Act. The AML board was officially launched, as earlier mentioned, by the then Finance Minister Uhuru Kenyatta on 24th of June 2011. The board brings together government departments and agencies, the representative bodies of reporting institutions, and the individuals from private sector with particular expertise in AML. For your benefit, I will want to reiterate or specify who these members that constitute the board are. The PS Treasury, the Attorney General, Governor Central Bank of Kenya, the Commissioner of Police, I suppose soon it will be the Inspector General of Police, Kenya Bankers Association Chair, the Chief Executive of ISPAC, and the Director of the Financial Reporting Center, who is also the Secretary to the board. Two other persons who have knowledge and expertise in matters relating to anti-money laundering to represent the private sector. Those two persons are Sheila Mbijiwe and myself. And as I said earlier, I am privileged and honored to be chairing this distinguished group. The Financial Reporting Center, or the intelligence unit in other areas, defines a financial reporting unit as a national center for receipt and analysis of suspicious transactions and reports. and other information relevant to money laundering and associated predicate offenses and terrorist financing, and for the dissemination of the results of the analysis. FRC, or the Financial Reporting Centers in our case, is established under Section 21 of the Process of Crime and Money Laundering Act. It is an independent body whose principal objective is to assist in identification of processes of crime and combating of money laundering. The FRC was formally operationalized on the 16th April of this year, after the board meeting of 12th April directed its operationalization and establishment. Ladies and gentlemen, to enable us to understand its duties effectively, FRC is empowered to do the following, among others. 1, receive and analyze reports of unusual or suspicious nature and cash transaction reports made by reporting institutions. Reporting institutions under the Act comprise entities in the financial sector such as banks, insurance companies, money transfer companies, as well as players in non-financial sectors such as casinos, accountants, real estate, and motor vehicle dealers. Number 2, FRC will also receive reports on cash declaration forms received from border points. What this simply means is that any one of us in this room today, when leaving or entering the country, will be required to disclose to the customs officer any monetary instrument in excess of US dollars 10,000 or equivalent in other currencies. It is important for all of us to understand that the law does not prevent us from leaving or coming into the country with monetary instruments in excess of $10,000. What we are required to do as good citizens or visitors to this lovely country is to report the particulars of the monetary instruments to that designated authority. Number 3, FRC will also be sending reports received under the Act to appropriate law enforcement authorities or other supervisory bodies for further handling. FRC is a link between law enforcement and the financial sector. This linkage is important because in most crimes, particularly organized crime, there is a financial element to it or a benefit. It is therefore important for all parties to understand and to see the full picture. Number 4, under the Act, FRC is required to undertake inspection and supervision of reporting institutions so as to ensure compliance with the AML and CFT reporting obligations as prescribed under the law. We are cognizant of the need to ensure that reporting institutions are not unnecessarily overburdened with the regulatory requirements and players. For this reason, FRC will work closely with the regulators to see how best to harmonize and coordinate AML, CFT oversights of reporting institutions. So you may not, for banks, you may not simultaneously or consecutively see central bank walking in, and after they leave, FRC walking in. So it's very unlikely that a scenario like that will obtain. So very likely we will work closely together and undertake those exercises so that we don't subject you to unnecessary visits or take a lot of your time when we are looking to compliance. Number 5, because of the transactional nature of money laundering activities, it is important for agencies involved in combating money laundering to be able to exchange information with their counterparts across the borders. For this reason, FRC will facilitate the exchange of information on money laundering activities with other financial intelligence units in other countries. 6, having knowledge and well-sensitized reporting entities is one of the key pillars of an effective anti-money laundering regime. And we've just been taken through by the last speaker on how it will be very, very important that we are all on one page if this thing has to work and work correctly. For this reason, it is important to have fora such as the one we have today, where we can share with you information concerning developments in areas of anti-money laundering. And one of the functions of FRC will be to develop AML and CFT training programs for reporting institutions. FRC will work with specialized training institutions such as KSMS to deliver such training. One other aspect is that the functions of FRC will be to develop AML regulations to provide for guidance to support implementation of this act. In the furtherance of this mandate, on 28 September 2012, the Center released draft anti-money laundering regulations to the public and EU stakeholders for review and comment. I have heard, talking to some of you out here, that the period for reaction or response is very brief. It is brief for a good reason. We have been running a race to try and deal with a crisis position because this country is and has been under threat of being sanctioned for being slow in putting laws in place and for implementing POCAMLA. We will still urge and request that you take your earliest possible opportunity to go through those regulations. If 1 week is not enough, maybe another one additional week. But let's not take too long over this because really time is of essence. We want your reactions, we want your responses, so that whatever regulations we put in place, we are all on one page together. The regulations provide the function of FRC. It provides the registration of reporting institutions with FRC. It covers cross-border conveyance of monetary instruments. It covers anti-money laundering obligations of reporting institutions, including internal control obligations. It covers customer due diligence measures, including enhanced due diligence, publicly exposed persons, reliance on third parties, reporting of suspicious activities. As mentioned by the governor, the banking sector is a key stakeholder in the fight against money laundering, and we accordingly urge you to scrutinize the draft regulations and provide us with your feedback in the next few days. Ladies and gentlemen, international best practice requires the Financial Reporting Center to be autonomous and operationally independent. For this reason, the role of the AML board is to provide strategic guidance to the Financial Reporting Center. At this early stage of FRC's formation, this guidance has been mainly directed at ensuring that FRC gets on a sound footing and that the establishment and operationalization of the center progresses smoothly. To enable the board and the center to get a better understanding of the operations of financial reporting units, members of the board and the center recently undertook knowledge exchange visits to other financial intelligence units. We visited Mauritius, which has been up and running for the last over 10 years. We also visited the Financial Reporting Center of South Africa, which is also administrative like ours, for benchmarking and to learn from the experiences. The board is therefore looking to put in place a system and mechanisms that will meet international standards and be comparable to the best, not just in the region, but in the world. FRC has developed a work plan that identifies and sets out key objectives that are to be met both in the short term and medium term. Our being here today is part of FRC's plan to raise awareness amongst key stakeholders, particularly amongst reporting institutions. As I indicated before, a well-sensitized reporting sector is one of the cornerstones of an effective ML regime. Other key objectives that the FRC will be undertaking will include developing systems to enable the electronic receipt and dissemination of information. But at this early stage, and as we look for resources to do these automated processes of reporting and receiving reports or disseminating information, a manual arrangement is in place, and we'll be looking to receiving this information manually for a while as we work with both the government and development partners to source and acquire the necessary softwares that will help the center to discharge this mandate. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I ought to stop here so that I give you an opportunity to ask any questions and comments on the remarks that I have made. I thank you.